Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Mama Genius Hub podcast. I'm so excited for my next guest. She's amazing. She's going to be talking to us with the topic of being a mom on demand and how do we set those boundaries and how do we do the things that we need to do as mothers and try to remove some of the stress and the things that we do to place that. So let's go get straight into our intro so we can go ahead and bring her on. Welcome to Mama Genius Hub podcast, where we support moms with big dreams from entrepreneurship to personal aspirations. I'm your host, Michelle DeKaiser, and I'm here to help you unlock your potential in all areas of life. Join us as we explore strategies for thriving in motherhood while pursuing the dreams, the key to actually unlocking your genius. Subscribe now and embark on a journey to realize your fullest potential. I am so excited to have you up here. And Zamasa, let's give you your introduction. She is a Gen X single mom who's been caught in between my partner's strict ways of life and millennial daughter's expectations while exploring her purpose in life and how she's discovered center gems that ease that journey. We shall create together. We shall create harmony in your life. You discover and appreciate your purpose. Welcome to the podcast this morning. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me. And hello to all the ladies.
It's so exciting to do this together. And this time it is part of the Mama Genius Festival. We're in day 15 of the festival as we speak right now. And Zamasa has given one powerful talk, and she's about to give another one right after this live podcast as well. And so I've been so inspired by you, but I want you to tell the audience a little bit about what is your why behind what you do.
My why is that at some point I struggled. I battled a lot as a mother, especially as being a single mother, because I thought that I had to do it all. And there's just so much that needed to be done all at once, almost driving one crazy out of their mind. Especially when I realized at a certain stage that not only can I lean on other mothers, such as yourselves, but my own mother also did not have that support. And it feels lonely just trying to do everything on your own is overwhelming. And that is my why. It's a question of if I can, if I have found certain gems along the way on how to ease the road, why not share them with other women who are going through similar situations?
I love it so much. And that's honestly why I did want to start connecting moms as well, is that loneliness feeling that we've had so much in trying to do all the things. And by all the things, I mean, we're always trying to do what everyone's telling us that we're supposed to be doing. And then it kind of like, I feel like that's what puts these layers on from hiding us from our own genius, because we're so busy trying to project and people please and do all the things. Do you feel that way as well?
Absolutely. There's just so much pressure and so much expectation from society, from our own families, from our own children, and from ourselves. We happen to be our own hardest critics, and the expectations that we place on ourselves. It's just phenomenal. I remember there was a time when I had two children, both under the age of 10. Now that's hectic. Imagine the little fights, the demands from school for each child. I actually remember they went to the same primary school, and they used to have the parents' day on the same day. And I'd have to run literally from one end of the campus to the other because I have to show up there. I have to be there for my kids. I have to look at their work art on the walls. There's just that. And then imagine when one of them falls sick in the middle of the night. I've got an asthmatic child, and the asthma attacks usually took place around 3 a.m. Now, with two young girls in the house, do you take both of them to the hospital? Mind you, the other one being under the age of 12 is not allowed into their pediatric wards while the other one is being treated. Do you leave them at home and risk them waking up in the middle of the night all alone? Even if you do take them along, it's cold at 3 a.m. In the evening. So the juggling act and having to find balance between mothering the children and running a house that where everyone feels safe and provided for at all times has been a huge challenge, especially when the kids were younger. And so I've had to find my voice along the way. Things like using the nebulizer, for instance, was the doctors would say something like, we need to admit this one because of, now I have to negotiate with the doctors. Is there anything that I can do at home so that I can be there for the other one? Promising the doctors that I'll be here first thing in the morning for you to have a look at the sick child, the decisions that we have to make. I happen to live about 3 hours away from my nuclear family. And so I do not have aunts, my mom, and everyone else at the back, available all the time to take care of some of the load for me. And so, yeah, those were some tough times. And I've had to lean on other people, find little strategies to help me along. So, for instance, one of the first things I taught my girls how to use was the microwave, just for them to be able to warm up their own milk. If it's shiny, it does not go in. You press stop first, because sometimes, when you use the microwave, but then you don't wait until the timer runs out. You press stop first, put in your bowl of milk. You press start twice, because the first start is for 30 seconds. Start twice and then you wait. You have to come up with little tactics for survival of both your own sanity, your well-being, whilst empowering those little people to be independent from a young age. Same as a list of mothers that they can call on should they not be able to reach me from the office or for whatever reason. This is mom number one. You're saving them on their little cell phones. This is the first person you call. The reason is because they are the closest to home. If you can't get hold of this one, so you have like a list of about 7 mothers that my children could reach out to if they cannot get hold of me immediately. So you first reach this one. Now you're creating a safety net for them as well, so that they don't feel that if they cannot reach mom, the whole world comes to an end and it just crumbles around. It also gives me some peace of mind because I know that there's an adult that they can reach out to, whom I would be able to take care of business until I'm available. I used to study as well. So I would have my block studies way away from home. So if there's a child that needs to be picked up, one the sick, etc., etc., there needs to be a structure at home. You can't get hold of me. You phone so and so's mom, Michelle's mom, and then Shika's mom, and then so and so's mom, in order of how far they live from home.
I love that
So
so much.
So yeah, so as a mom with young kids, these are some of the things that we forget, or mainly because we're not told and we're not taught how to do these things. There's always an expectation that a mother provides everything, that we're self-sacrificing. We're talking about altruism in animals, and then we compare that to mothers. If you just listen at how we label mothers, Mama Bear, helicopter
Mhm.
mom. And these are expectations that are placed on us. So when you feel that you're in that situation, it almost feels as if you have to anyway. But that comes with a lot of pressure. Being a mama bear is not easy. Being a helicopter mama is not easy because it demands of you to be attentive all the time. There is no you in being mama anything. There's just no you. There is no Michelle. There is no Zimasa. In South Africa, there is a popular saying, only targeted women. It goes, "Wathinta abafazi, wathinta imbokodo." You touch a woman, you touch a stone, you strike a stone. And by indication, think of all the characteristics of a stone: unfeeling, unchanging, always there, the bedrock. Um, the stone does not have a personality. The stone does not have any needs. In fact, why use even the word strike a stone?
Yeah.
Because now we're not looking at the stone as something that is functional. It's something happening to the stone, being the mom or a woman, and the stone just absorbs it all, does not respond. And this is the expectation, unfortunately, that is placed on women globally. It just manifests in different formats and it's said in certain ways. Um,
I have to completely agree with that because I love how you put out the idea of mama bear or the way that we're associated. And I was actually just on the live earlier talking about how it feels like we've just kind of taken on that role from our moms. And I want to point out that at some point, our moms had that dream for us to fill our dreams, right? But then as soon as we
Yep.
become moms, we're supposed to, when we're kids, we no longer can have those dreams. Once you're a mom, you can't have those dreams anymore. But then each mom has that same dream for their kids, become a mom, and then we keep perpetuating that cycle until we can stop that cycle of us all living in our dreams and then being that role model for them to live in theirs. And I love how you brought out the idea of how we as a society do that to ourselves and saying, Mama Bear, like that's your role. And we need to break that concept and say, we are so much more.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it starts with small things sometimes. I was married to my daughter's kids at a certain point in time. And I remember we had planned to go and visit friends with my firstborn. And she was a couple of months old at the time. And the planning to go out, we had left the house during the day and then it got into the evening gradually. And I remember him, the other parent, mind you, because now with both parents here, I wasn't just the parent on my own. He said, "Didn't you bring something warm for the child?" I'm like, "We left the house together. Why would it be my duty to think of this one? And if it's not there, why do I need to feel guilty in terms of what kind of a mother are you not to have done this?" And I'm just using him as an example because that's exactly what our society does to mothers over and over and over. Something happens to the baby or the child. Where was the mother? It's not where were the adults? Where was the mother? It's almost as if you're taking on more responsibility than anyone else, and that there's just no you. You don't have feelings. You don't have fatigue. You don't have a whole lot of things. And we still solve the myths of as when we've got a baby, sleep when the baby sleeps. It's just a myth. We know that's not how it happens. So who's gonna clean the house? Who's gonna cook if you're sleeping? And then
Yeah.
then you're gonna be termed lazy. And 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 this is where now at this day in this day and age we're trying to get to a stage of realizing that we're human. We've got our own faults, we've got our own desires, we've got our own strengths as well. We don't celebrate women's strengths, do we? We're quick to point out where we're failing or seemingly lacking without even checking why. And our support structures are so here, there, and everywhere. You know, there is no solid foundation for women to just be together or to be allowed not to be together for that matter. In some communities, for instance, where you find that families tend to stick together, you find that you stay in with your brother's family and your own parents' family, and you're still expected to blend in. You're part of the Decazer clan, but there is no Michelle as one person who was allowed to just go play netball if that's what you fancy, or not watch a movie when everyone else is watching the movies. You're supposed to blend in. We all have to babysit together. We're doing all these things together. We're not allowed, for whatever reason, to just be ourselves. And just like you were saying earlier on, Michelle, we're very right that every single parent dreams for their child to find their personality and to shine and thrive, yet we're just not allowed to. The systems that our societies and the communities form around us just do not allow for that.
It's
And
so
this
true.
is why, and it is exactly why we have a festival such as this one. So that if you're feeling that desire, you know that you're not alone. And you don't have to emulate the next person. It's okay to just be you.
And that, yeah, exactly the case is because we each have that genius inside of you. And it's like, I want all these speakers to be you looking at the list and saying, what do I need right now? What's going to fill my cup? What do I need to do to propel that forward? And on that note, we'll be right back in a moment, and we're going to be diving really far into boundaries. Attention mompreneurs. Attention mompreneurs. Do you feel like you're constantly juggling the responsibilities without a moment to yourself? It's time to pause and reflect with our Mama Genius quiz. Tailored for busy mamas like you, this quiz will help you identify what's blocking your path and inspire you to harness your unique strengths, transform how you manage life and business, find your rhythm, and ignite your joy. Visit mamageniushub.com today to discover your Mama Genius. And that's mamageniushub.com. But what I really want to deep dive into is how I love how you have the title Mom on Demand. And I love to talk about the aspect of boundaries with you and how do we set those boundaries? Because I know it's hard when moms, as you were talking about, are the people pleasing and doing all of that. And how do we set those boundaries?
This starts small, Michelle, again. In my instance, when the kids were younger and they didn't understand when I'm stuck mentally because I'm trying to think of something, I use something that they're familiar with. Remember in the olden days when the computer was processing, you used to have that timer. It looks like the hourglass that used to spin. And I say,
Right.
you know, when the computer does that, it's thinking. Mom is thinking right now. Now that made my kids realize that I'm only human. I am not robotic. You know, whenever they demand doesn't mean that I have to churn out an answer immediately. It gave me breathing space. Um, so there's that boundary. Or I'm tired, I need to rest. Sure, little kids don't understand this because as soon as your eyes pop open, you've rested, right? And then they and then they get into the next topic for whatever it is that they need done. This it starts slowly, especially around the house. At this stage, they have grown to accept that sometimes I just need time alone. At, and actually, because now they are much older, I have come to explain to them that I get mentally tired. I do not want to think because I did find that as a mom, that when I'm exhausted and I've had all these other things happening at once, I make a lot of mistakes because I'm not thinking clearly. I'm rushed into making the next decision and taking the next action. Guilty as charged. So, so I would actually say to them that I need to watch a program that's not gonna demand thinking of me because I am mentally exhausted. So
Mm.
something that they do not see, they don't see the mental exhaustion, but they come to accept that I need rest. And from a very young age, whenever someone called while I'm napping, my oldest daughter, it doesn't matter who it was, it could have been the police, it could have been my own mother, she would say, Mom is resting. And then they go, but it's grandma. Yeah, I understand it's grandma, but mom is tired. Mom is resting. Kids understand those things. Yes, you need to be truthful though. If you're putting off something for later, you need to deliver at a later stage. But they also need to understand that you're only human and there's so many things that we can do at once. Same as with money. You know how kids are like. Well, not just kids. I think everyone has got a million and one once, but then there's limitations in terms of your own cash flow at home. Again, you explain these things to the children. They will, they might not like it at first, but they get to understand. Remember, I said you need to be truthful. No, we cannot have this at all because, as a principle, I will not buy such and such. You don't even have to explain why to little people. You still have the authoritative figure. You are not on the same level, so they don't. They're gonna ask you why, and you'll never get anything done. So with little people at home, you just tell them, no, we will not buy this. It's dangerous, perhaps. Or no, I cannot afford it. Or I don't like this type of thing or game or whatever. We'll never buy this. Or it's bad timing. When I can, I will get it for you. Or, as a matter of principle, I've already bought you X number of whatevers. We cannot just keep on spending endlessly because there are other things that we need to factor in. But now, all these boundaries start with self, they start with you being aware of your own values. Now, your values are going to be different to mine, even though most values are quite noble and positive. So you first need to be aware of your own values. So anything that breaches one of those values is a clean no. You do that with your kids, you practice with them, and then it becomes easier to say no to yourself first. Because we also don't, we're our biggest culprits.
Yes.
Someone calls you and says, please come over because we're hanging out together and you really don't want to. It's okay to say no. Again, you don't have to explain. The more you explain, the more you are opening the doors for negotiation. Sometimes a clean no is sufficient. No, I can't make it. That's it.
And I want to point out that no is a complete sentence. Like we don't
Yes.
need to say no because, like, just
No, no, no,
no.
no, no. No, no, that because opens up room for negotiation because now they're going to try and convince you. No, it won't be long. It's just going to be one drink. You're going to be back. And the whole time you're thinking your budget does not allow for this one drink. You're exhausted. You want to sleep so that you can do something else at a later stage. No is sufficient a lot of the time. And remember, people who do not accept your boundaries normally don't even respect you.
It's so true. And I love how you say your values. So I really do encourage people to really hone in on what are their core values. And we're talking about 2 or 3 core values, because when we have this long list of things, it again, it's hard to make that decision then when we have too many things to weigh it against. So I like to, for me, when I did this, I narrowed it down to grace, gratitude, and growth. And for me, those 3 things combined together equal my freedom, in terms of what is it going to take to how do I feel that way. And so I highly recommend for some of you to look at a list of, I don't know, just find, go on Google. Brene Brown has a good one, and find a values list, and then just start circling them and spend some time with it to narrow it down to what are your top values, so that when you need to make a decision, then you're asking yourself, does this go against those values? And then you're like Zamasa said, that's it. No, right there. Is if you're going to go against your own values.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And on that note, I'd love to dive into, I'm trying to change things up as we're re-recording for the podcast first time. And I've stuck to one question instead of 5 questions I'm going to ask towards the end of the podcast. But it's a 2-parter. So we'll ask the first part too. So let's just start with, what do you think is one common misconception about motherhood that you think holds many moms from stepping into their own genius?
Thinking that we're supposed to do it all and be perfect at everything.
So then how can they shift that mindset that they don't have to do that anymore?
You start by valuing yourself. If you think of yourself as your own children's resource, their main resource, how do you treat that? How do you treat that main resource? If you love your children, which most mothers do, you want to make sure that they've got the best of you. Now, you can't give what you don't have. So you treat yourself exactly as you would treat your children, especially your toddler children. If you don't make your toddler kids stay up late just because they have to, just because you want to, you don't do that to yourself. You treat yourself with tenderness and love. Just like you would treat your own child, that is exactly how you treat yourself.
Oh, I love that so much. And that's so true. Can you tell everyone how we can get a hold of you? Or if you have a free gift for the audience? Both, all of the above.
Well, I'm reachable via Facebook. My name is Zimasa Kala. I will pop on the chat my link as well to my website, where you can get hold of me, so that we can book a session if you really need to, and then we can take some of this discussion further. Yes, when it comes to a freebie, it will be that first session with me. You can book a coaching session, and then we'll take it from there.
I love that so much. And for those of you that are with us live, Zamasa is about to give the full breakdown of Mom on Demand right after this podcast episode as well. And so I'm going to remove Zamasa for one moment before I bring her right back, because I want to give I'm going to give the 5 takeaways that I found from our discussion right now. And so, number 1, I put creating a safety net for your family. I love how she creates that structure. She talked about the phone train, and having your kids know how to do their own bottles, or providing those safety nets so they know what to do. But then that leads us into number 2, which was those expectations and labels. I loved how we were talking about the mama bear and the bedrock, but that we need to kind of remove some of those expectations. We're more than a solid rock. We have all the vibrancy and stuff, that we need to be those role models for our kids living in their genius. And then that leads us into number 3, which is also mom always taking on more responsibility, that we are realizing we are human, so that we're not pointing fault or strength and pointing that out, but right now that we need to give ourselves some breathing room and realize that we can't meet all these expectations society may or may not have put on us, or that we put onto ourselves. But it's really about giving ourselves some of that breath and that space, which leads us directly into number 4, is that we do need rest. And I love how she has her kids actually say, "No, mom's resting right now. It doesn't matter who's calling," because they do know that and they understand that. And that means taking that rest for yourself as well and setting up those parameters so that when you do need that mental break, you are taking it. And that leads us last into the values and self-awareness. If they start with having that self-awareness of what your values are and remembering that no is a complete sentence, that when it goes against your values, your first response should be, not should, let's get rid of the shoulds. Your first response is no, not no because, just no. So how did the takeaways, anything you want to add to that, Zamasa?
No, you've captured everything quite nicely, Michelle. Remember,
And
ladies, take care of yourselves first in order to be able to take care of your kids. This is what you're teaching them. They learn from what they see.
I love that so much. And on that note, thank you so much, Zamasa, for coming on with us. Make sure that you connect with her as well. And thank you for joining us in today's episode of the Mama Genius Hub podcast. If you found value in our conversation, please share this episode with another mama who might benefit. Sharing helps us build a supportive community and reach out to more mamas like you. After all, it's more fun when we do motherhood together. Until next time, stay motivated and continue to pursue your dreams as you shine in your genius.